Welcome to Not Ready for the Farm as we explore the journey of aging. With longer lifespans now, we spend more years as seniors than ever as kids. So we've got to get this right. After all, no one's getting out alive. I come in here some days and I'm going, there's such a serious topic to cover. And I look at you and you just make me laugh.
I'm inappropriately laughing.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, our guest today is a palliative hospice care doctor at NYU, Dr. Kathy Zhang. She'd come in to visit us. And it's serious stuff.
Yes.
People are dying and have regrets. And she's learned so much about it. And we come in and I look at you and I start laughing. I hope that when we do our interview today, we take this seriously.
Let's be respectful.
Let's be respectful. When
Judy,
did that start?
Judy, let's try.
I want to introduce everybody to our guest, our esteemed guest. I don't even know where to begin. You are one of the guests I've been looking forward to the entire season to have you here. Your background and what you present and your fields of study and your whole body of work is really representative of Not Ready for the Farm and our journey of aging together. And it is Kathy Zhang, Dr. Kathy Zhang. And I'm going to let you tell your history, how you got into the field you're now in. I'd love to hear your take on it. And then I'm going to talk to you about how you pivoted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here. I grew up in Brooklyn. My parents were Chinese immigrants. I came from Shanghai when I was 3, and I grew up kind of being told that like becoming a physician in the US is the pinnacle of success, right? And so I was like, okay, we'll do that. And then I started off working as a hospitalist, so a physician who takes care of people who are sick enough to be admitted to the hospital, pneumonia, heart failure, infections, things like that. And then at a certain point, I realized that what I loved the most was sitting with patients and just talking with them. Just being a physician, I felt like a lot of times I was doing this kind of revolving door of like patching people up and sending them out. Mm-hmm. And then they would come back and I would do the same thing. And I was like, I'm not really making headway with their care, like overall. And I'm not having the difficult conversations that I want to have with them. So I was seeing 20, 25 patients a day. And I was luckily, if I spent 5, 10 minutes was, an enormous amount of time per patient. So during that time, I had started to work with our palliative care people. And I was like, these people are doing really great work.
Describe what palliative care is for our listeners.
So palliative care, so my favorite definition is from the World Health Organization. It's an approach to care that focuses on improving quality of life and reducing suffering for patients and families who are dealing with a life-threatening illness. And so when you're sitting with them and they're talking to you, there's something about the proximity to mortality that really gets people to have clarity about their lives, about, thinking back on what made sense, what was most important to them and going forward. And so I kept hearing these things and soaking up all this wisdom. And I kept thinking, oh my God, like, wouldn't it be great if we could just take all of this and just move it upstream 20, 30, 40 decades earlier so that people like us who are not necessarily approaching death, who are not necessarily 6 months from the end of our lives, can benefit from it and say, oh my God, okay, maybe I can make some different decisions. Maybe I can reconnect with people I've lost touch with. Maybe I can, be nicer to myself and things like that.
Were you working at the hospital during COVID?
So I started my palliative care job August of 2019. And I was right, in New York. And so I was really great and having a great time. And I go, I'm going to take care of all these people who are sick and dying. And the universe was like, oh yeah, you like this?
Yeah.
Like, hold my beer, right?
Have some more.
Yeah, exactly. And so March, 2020, that happened. And our patient list was maybe 20 or so average. It ballooned up to about 89 in the span of a week or so. And it stayed like that for weeks and weeks. And you've played Tetris before, right? There's a level in Tetris where The pieces start coming so quickly, you don't know what to do with them, and you kind of just scramble and you go over here. And
it's no longer strategic.
Right.
You're just trying to keep it from getting to the top.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what it felt like for months. And so I hadn't developed the kind of emotional resilience and all of the techniques that I teach people and preach about now, because that's what I needed to be able to help me get through it. At one point, I was so down in the depths of a dark, dark hole. I was like, it's fine if I don't wake up tomorrow. Like, it's just fine.
So you can understand what the nurses and doctors were going through. And some of them, there were suicides, there were various things. Some people got sick. The people they worked with, their colleagues got sick. I mean, in New York City, it was intense. This is one of the...
I remember there was one day where I think I cried 9 separate times. I just burst into tears. And I'm a crier, normally. That's my baseline. It's how I process big emotions. And that's fine. But 9 is, beyond the limits.
Getting a little heavy.
Right. Even for me. And so I remember going back home and calling one of my best friends. And I was like, I am not doing well. Can you help me? And so it was reaching out to someone
big stuff.
Right. When I thought that I had to just keep it all in, because in medicine, you're trained to be a professional. You're trained to say, like, I know how to do this. I signed up for this, but there's not as much room for being human.
Yeah. And you're supposed to compartmentalize.
Yes.
And then go home and be fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then do it all over again and see all these traumas and just pretend like you're totally fine.
Yeah. I don't know how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how doctors who give the colonoscopies do it either. I just wouldn't, if I were a doctor, I wouldn't have signed up for that. And I don't think I would have signed up for this.
Depends on the patient.
I almost became a gastroenterologist, and then I realized that I was just like, no, not that much poop. No, I was
I know, you got to make choices, right? And I made a choice not to be a doctor. So this experience really weighed on you.
Mm-hmm.
And how did you get out of that place, that dark place?
I signed up to work with a trauma therapist. But here's the thing. I remember asking them, do you think it's possible for you to bring the price down, by $100 or something like that? In my mind, I didn't think that my mental health, my life was worth an extra $100 an hour,
right?
Which was just mind-blowing to me being on the other side.
Right.
But that's how so many of us think. My trauma therapist was amazing. She literally saved my life. She taught me all these things. And that got me back to kind of my baseline, my normal.
Sure. Talk about your shift, how you pivoted there.
Yeah, I just basically, when I was a child and thinking I wanted to be a physician and that sort of thing, I really just wanted to sit there and listen to people's stories. The best parts of my day are when in palliative care, we talk about whole person care. It's not just the heart, or it's not just the liver or the kidneys, it's the human being and everything that goes into their whole experience. So it's not just physical, it's mental, it's emotional,
it's very
spiritual,
holistic.
Existential. And what I love about our discipline in hospice and palliative care is that we involve other disciplines, nursing, social work, chaplaincy, doulas, volunteers, creative arts, music therapists, because we understand that it's not just one person that can help a human being when they're approaching the end of life. It's all of these things. And by taking a human-centered approach, we are, we have a lot of students and fellows who are interviewing and applying for hospice and palliative care training. And one common theme that I see is that they say, this is what I imagined being a physician would be like. This discipline, right? That's why they choose to go into it. They're saying that's what I want to be when I grow up. And I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And so that's what keeps me doing this work, because it's the proximity to being human. It's real, it's raw, and it doesn't matter to me that it's uncomfortable. But this is what being a human is all about.
So tell me what you're doing now, which is the excitement for me about how you live better from the beginning.
So what I realized trying to share these insights, it's only half of the battle, sharing these insights and the wisdom of people who are on their deathbeds. People hear that and they go, great, Now what do I do? How do I actually apply that?
Yeah.
And that's really difficult because there's so many things, taking our attention, there's so much noise. And so when I received coaching, I never set out to be a coach. I never set out to do any of that stuff. But what I realized was when we were practicing on each other, kind of the techniques that would help each other, it changed how I felt about things. It changed my attitude. It changed my decision making. And something that I had been stuck on for months, years, was shifted in 15 minutes, an hour, or whatever. And so I thought, okay, if it works on me and I am an impatient New Yorker, right? I want the fastest way, just whatever it is, I want it now. And so I thought, okay, maybe I can share some of these tips, some of these emotional resilience techniques, some of these mindset things or practical neuroscience with the masses. Then maybe some people could take that and transform their own lives so that they don't have to wait until deathbed. They don't have to wait until they lose someone they love. They don't have to wait until they survive a near fatal car accident to realize oh, I need to do something different with my life.
What do people say on their deathbed when they talk about regrets? What kind of language do they use?
Mm-hmm. They say, so I've kind of put it into 3 buckets. I call it the ABCs: authenticity, bravery, and connection. So authenticity would be I wish I were more true to myself. I wish I hadn't maybe held myself back because of the fear of other people's judgments, things like that.
Hello.
Right.
Okay.
Bravery, right? I wish I'd taken more risks. I wish I'd gone for that thing instead of being too afraid to pursue it because I felt like I didn't have time, I wasn't ready, judgment. And then the last one is connection, either connection to self or connection to others. I wish I hadn't lost touch with my friends. I wish I hadn't worked so hard and not spent as much time with my loved ones. I wish I had, again, been truer to myself and actually honored and been nicer and allowed myself to be happier. Some people will say things like, I wish I had allowed myself to be loved. And that was one thing that I'd never kind of expected, because a lot of times patients will say, I don't want to bother my family or friends. Don't tell them I'm in the hospital because I don't want to be a burden. And, it pains me to hear that, because you think that there could be plenty of people who want to show up, but because these people think that they're a burden or things like that, it just makes there's so much more suffering involved.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's the realization that they feel that way isn't just on their deathbed. Many of us feel that way through our whole lives. Mm-hmm. Okay, so how do we deal with this? How do we make a shift to take a look at that and reflect and not wait till we're on our deathbed to address it?
Let's say, God forbid, we have a near fatal accident and we think, oh my God, I've got to change something. And what happens then, it's not as though the car accident allows us to have any new skills, right? We don't gain anything. But what happens is the combination of a perspective shift that allows us to kind of zoom out of our daily lives. That dissociation gives us perspective. So you're seeing your life from not these narrow-minded viewpoints, but from a different viewpoint. And so when we see our lives from a different perspective, and perspective can happen any different way, books, podcasts, articles, talking to people. So if we combine a shift in perspective with a strong emotion, now that strong emotion could be, oh my God, I'm so grateful to be alive, I nearly died. Or I can't believe someone I loved died so suddenly. That could be a strong emotion. It could be the pain of saying, I am scared, but what's even more painful is not going for the dream on my heart, right? And the more emotion that we can generate, whether that's through asking ourselves questions like, what's going to be most important to me at the end of my life? What I say is bringing mortality closer. Because when we ask ourselves these questions, it stirs something in us. And it's the emotion that gets our brains to pay attention to say, oh my God, okay, this is something that we can act upon. And if you can get yourself to have an emotion to the point where, let's say you're crying or something like that, that makes your brain pay attention, and your body and your brain will take it from there.
But what an amazing shift, right? To go from, I have to disassociate or I have to compartmentalize so I can do my job, to then shifting and being like, I have to use emotions to change my life is so profound. And it seems almost shocking that you were going from being somebody who had to push down emotions to the point where you were sick, right? You were making yourself sick from not allowing yourself to have emotions, to then being someone who actually helps people change and get unstuck using your emotions. I mean, it's pretty profound.
But if you're locked up your whole life or a lot of your life emotionally, whether it's from childhood stuff or just in general, how do you unlock it? What do you do? What are the magic tricks?
So, I mean, there's different ways for everyone. Obviously, a lot of people love therapy, and I'm a huge proponent of therapy. It saved my life. And like you said, just the squashing down of emotions. I always say one of the things that I really wish I had known or learned about or done more study about in my 20s is emotional regulation.
Yeah.
And it's not sexy. No one loves to talk about it, but it is so key. Because if we learn how to regulate our emotions, if we just recognize that emotions themselves aren't neither good or bad, they just happen. And if we can help ourselves with certain techniques like deep breathing, tapping, right? Therapeutic touch, these kind of techniques can help our nervous system just calm down enough for us to be able to handle what's going on instead of becoming so overwhelmed that we just run away or we shut down. And so, like you said, knowing that has been really helpful. So things like therapy can help, talking to someone, just even allowing ourselves to have the experience of the emotion, because they've done studies that if you actually allow an emotion to kind of work its way through you, it takes about 90 seconds. And that energy needs somewhere to go. Movement can be really helpful for people. So whether it's things like yoga or going to the gym or anything like that, that kind of energy, again, needs somewhere to go. So that's why a lot of people find movement, nature really helpful. Anything to help us kind of step away from the autopilot of daily life.
I never get angry. I never yell. I've been in relationships where it was, why don't you yell? Because I don't yell. Because I don't want to express that. That's me. So I hold it in. And I got fat. That's how, I ate. Some people drink, some people do drugs. Now I'm older, I do all that, but but I just ate before.
Just coping mechanisms.
Just coping, And as you get older, my grandma used to take a nip every now and then, and she never drank. But when she got older, she did. So I'm about the age when she was nipping. I'm nipping. Anyway, back to the pivot, because it's invaluable. And I'm going through this now.
So one question that I recommend people ask is, okay, let me pretend I'm on my deathbed. Like, what's going to be most important to me when I'm there, right? And if the answer is, spending time with family, then you can look back at your life now and think, well, does the current lifestyle that I have now reflect those values? If my values are spending time with family, but I'm, doing 90 hours a week at work, then maybe something needs to shift. And so you can ask yourself, what is most important, and draw on the values. Is it health? Is it longevity? Is it connection? Is it authenticity, bravery, all of those things? And then reevaluate our life right now, our decisions that we make, and then shift that towards the life that is going to lead you closer to the values that you say are going to be most important to you on your deathbed. Mm-hmm. The second question is, dying patients are always like, I just wish I could eat pizza again, or I just wish I could snuggle with my pet again. And it's these small moments in between what we think are supposed to be the big moments in life, right? Those are amazing and wonderful. The big highs, the successes, and life is everything in between. I had a follower comment the other day on my video that it's the faces, the spaces, and the places in between. Yeah. And I thought that was so beautiful. And so we can ask ourselves in this moment, what if this is the last time we ever get to do a podcast? Wouldn't we savor it? Wouldn't we say like, hey, thank you for having me. I'm so honored to be here, and really take a little bit more time to be intentional with our present moment. Because so many of us are just thinking, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? What do I have to do? What's on my to-do list? And the more present that we are, the more grand and the moment is. Yeah. Feels right. And then the last one I would say is regret. You mentioned it, right? And a lot of people at the end of life have regrets, and some don't. And that's wonderful. And so the question that I ask people to think about is, let's pretend, God forbid, a year from now, you find yourself on your deathbed. What are you going to regret that you didn't do now? What do you wish you had more time to do? And if the answers that you say on your deathbed, again, don't reflect, your life right now doesn't reflect those, then that's an indication that we might need to change something.
You have a workbook that you make available on your website with 3 questions. Mm-hmm. Talk about that. I'd like to know more about it, and I think our listeners would too.
Yeah, and it expands on these questions. It is basically bringing death a little bit closer, asking ourselves, again, what's most important? What are these values? And how can we make little changes? I think a lot of times we think that change has to be this big thing, but a lot of times it's just, what's the next smallest step? Get a little bit of dopamine. What's the next smallest step? Get a little dopamine. And so the more wins that we can get, the easier it is to stay in momentum and get those changes and make small incremental change.
Do you have some stories about people you've been working with who've been making the pivot and the shifts that you've talked about? I'd love to hear them.
I had a client who was really stuck with her emotions. She just wouldn't, anytime something came up, she just shut down. And then over time, she started to realize that the more that she allowed herself to feel her emotions, the more that she allowed herself to connect with other people, the more transformed she felt, the more authentic she felt. I have another client who has done amazing things, but she had to let go a lot of the toxic people in her life and not feel this burden of having to be perfect, having to become the person that her family wanted her to be, or she thought she had to be because of culture and society and things like that.
I wonder how many people listening to us today have had that same feeling and have felt in that box and constrained like that.
I mean, it has to be 100%, right?
Well, some people are living what they planned and happy about it. I hope so.
Of course, but I think we all have these ways that we hold on to things, or we get stuck, or we feel, I think it's so human. And I think you're right. The self-regulation is like this component that's so critical to be able to do the rest, right? At all ages.
So we're sitting there in Palm Beach, retired, middle income, living in our home, or Palm Springs or Palm Beach or anywhere, Palm Bay, any city, anywhere. But they're sitting there going, well, I'm bored. Well, what do I do?
I'll give you an example because this just happened. I'm here visiting my in-laws. My mother-in-law, basically, she gave us a Christmas gift, and it was a notebook of watercolor. And so it was stenciled in pencil, and then it gave you instructions on the colors to mix for the watercolor. And she said, I was inspired by one of your podcast episodes about trying something new. And she said, I've always wanted to try watercolor. And so I bought myself one of these, and I thought, why not give these as gifts? And I was just so honored because, one, she heard the information and she decided to do something about it. Yeah. She took action. She didn't just say, okay, that's great, and file it away. She did something. And then she said, you know what, even at my age, I'm going to try to learn something new. I'm going to put myself in a position where, I'm going to be a little bit uncomfortable to be a beginner at something because I feel that it's valuable whether it's going to make me feel more calm, or maybe it's going to make me feel more creative, whatever it is that person is thinking out there that, you know what, it would be fun if I tried blank. Just start there. It would be fun if I tried knitting or watercolor, or if I learned more about the financial markets. I've always wanted to, learn about antiquing and jewelry, whatever it is. If it seems fun, allow yourself to just move towards that and then see what happens.
That's huge.
And the other thing I would recommend for people who, are aging is maintaining their functional status, which is basically stay moving. I met a woman who was 102. She didn't look a day over 65, honestly. She basically, I was like, how do you do it? You're 102. She lives alone. No help whatsoever. She still volunteers at the New York Public Library giving tours. But she said, I just keep moving. I keep walking. Yeah. And that's one of the things that in palliative care and hospice, what we see so often is that the people who are the most mobile, the people who have, just can do things like stand up without pushing off the chair, and who can kneel down and get back up, or who can climb stairs. If and when something happens, like an accident, a fall, you need surgery, you have a cancer diagnosis, those are the things that we as physicians and treatment people look at to see if you're going to do well after surgery, if you're going to even be able to tolerate chemotherapy or radiation. And again, no one likes talking about it. We all just think like, it's fine, I'll be okay. But that's one of the things that I'm really trying to hammer home for people is the more functional you are, my husband's a physical therapist. He sees it all the time. The more you can maintain that and improve that. I see, on my Instagram feed, 85-year-olds deadlifting more weight than I can do. And it's amazing.
You say deadlifting. If I were to be lifting, I would be dead. I mean, I used to lift weight. I did the whole 90-day thing where you go and exercise every morning and, and you drink a 90-day thing. And I was doing hikes and jumping over rocks and stuff it worked. It's habits.
The thing that I like to say is we have to think about our brains as a tool. Our brains are just supercomputers. And like any tool, the more we know how to use it, the better the tool becomes for us. And so one of the things with our brains is anything that we do or think repeatedly becomes a habit. Just like brushing our teeth is a habit, just like eating junk food at night is a habit, so can be thoughts and emotions and feelings. So I'm not good enough can become a habit. No one loves me can become a habit. So can I'm confident and abundant and things like that. And so the awareness of recognizing what our internal monologues are is really helpful for people like my age or a little bit older to kind of think about it and say, what are the thoughts and patterns that my brain is unconsciously executing, running programs 24/7 that I'm not even aware of.
Right.
Because if I'm not aware that every time something happens, my brain is saying, oh, that's more evidence that, I'm not good enough, then how am I supposed to change and feel confident enough to pursue the things that are important to me? And so breaking that down at that kind of neurochemical level can be really helpful. Some of the other habits are obviously, good sleep, really limiting alcohol. We see, I know, no one wants to hear it, but there's all sorts of things that we can do, moderating our stress, right? That's a huge one. Honestly, if we all kind of moderated and reduced our stress, a lot of diseases can be kept at bay.
Yeah, I figure if I keep doing things, and being productive, then I won't die. It won't keep me from aging. I mean, this is funny and stupid, but it's real. Mm-hmm. I just have to keep moving.
I'm curious, what is it about death that you're afraid of?
I try to figure, that's a great question. I have no idea, other than it'll be over and that I won't get to see everything and I won't get to experience more things and that it'll be gone.
Isn't it interesting that even though you're afraid of death, the proximity to it and the thought of it spurred you to action? right?
Yes.
It literally, you said, I am uncomfortable with this and I'm going to do something about it. And I'm going to start this podcast and do this thing and I'm going to help all these people.
And I want to learn about it myself. I want to address it so I get comfortable.
When it comes to our fear of death, when you work around people who are dying the way that I have and people in our field, you start to see things. And again, I'm not here to convince anyone or share anything religious or spiritual. I'm just saying that you start to see things, and I was much less spiritual before I started this work and much more now.
This is one of the brightest moments in our season, and I thank you so much.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you, Jess. Just appreciate you both.
What things do you do in your life so that you to fulfill yourself so that you don't think you'll have regrets?
I think there are times when I'm not doing enough of that, but honestly, I think the times that I'm really, really spending quality time with my family is something that I know I will not regret. Yeah.
You're not going to regret the time you have with your family.
And those connections, right, to people that you care about, and not just caring about them and thinking about them, but really making the time to be with them in person.
I saw Lewis Black. He's a comedian, and he's one of the funniest guys.
He lives in Chapel Hill.
Well, he doesn't live here. He went to UNC. Does he live here?
Yeah.
He lives here now?
He has a place in Chapel Hill.
Oh, you have to introduce me.
I don't
You're
know
the
him.
mayor.
I don't know
Well, you're going to have to get the courthouse to call him in to be a what are they, juror.
I can't.
We'll call all the police. Let's call the police and haul him in. I got to meet this guy. And he went to UNC, which is in Chapel Hill, which is where we live.
Yes. So they tell us.
They tell us that it's where we live.
I also work there.
You work there.
Yeah.
You're the mayor there of Chapel Hill.
Yes.
And, right.
Again, so they tell me.
So the reason I brought up Lewis Black before is this. He had a great comment. So he says, I go off tour and they tell me to get a dog. Now you get a dog. So I've got a dog and it is so friggin' cold outside. I got to take that dog out 3 times a day. Not once, not twice, 3 times. That guy, he's got to go out and poop. And I got to go wait for him to poop. And so I have a dog.
That's your life.
That's my life.
Yeah.
If I didn't have Kenny, I'm not sure I'd go out certain days when there's snow on the ground. I don't like cold weather. Hell no.
No.
So choose the better life you choose to have and what you're going to have in it. I mean, get a cat. Cats are good. They go in the box. You don't have to, although I have seen people with a leash with cats.
Well,
I have in Chapel Hill.
That's
seriously.
That's a bit fringy, but okay.
But if it makes them happy.
Absolutely.
And if the cat's happy, you know.
I don't know if the cat's happy. I'm not really sure about that. I'd have to I'd have to do some research on that.
Well, listen, we just want to remind you all to go to our website and get our mug. We may have some more swag in the future, but right now we have a mug and we don't know how much it is. It'll be on there. It's not going to be much because it's not about profit. It's about sharing. Really, it is. And we'll have more swag in the future.
We have to, yeah.
You know, I need a sweatshirt with your face on it.
I need a sweatshirt with your face on it.
That'll be
very. This is going to be the sweatshirt, right? Is going to be
something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we hope so. It's you're global now. You know this. You know this is forever. Podcasts are forever. You're in the ethers. There's no hiding.
Well, that's terrifying, but thank you for that. That's great. Good news.
Good news. So go to our website. Also for Kathy, you can click right through to all the information about her, all her articles, her TED Talk, everything you want to learn about that, and all our guests that we've had on this season. And we are really grateful that you've been with us and taken a little time out of your day or night. Or, you know, I listen to podcasts in the bathroom when I'm getting dressed. I do, because it's entertainment. Okay, it's better than the local news or any news.
Oh, any news.
Any news.
Yeah,
I can't watch that anymore.
No.
So we want to say how grateful we are that you joined us today, and we will see you down the road.
Bye. That was a good one. Yeah.
We appreciate you joining us here at Not Ready for the Farm as we navigate the journey of aging. Please like and subscribe and visit our website at notreadyforthefarm.com. Find us wherever you stream your podcasts. Well, I love this next segment that's coming up. It's with Alex Ritchie, our resident literary explorer, and her obtuse literature that has absolutely no meaning and reflects her quirky perspective. Hello, Alex.
Hi there. I am back into the world of preachy children's poetry, and it's full of perfect children who are disgusting, and bad children that are probably not so great either. But this is the literature that our parents grew up with and some of us grew up with, and probably not so much what people are growing up with now online, but maybe they'll discover this online. So this is from a book, The Kindly Children, called Shameless Abel. Once there was a boy named Abel who often spilled his food at table. He had a dainty sister, Dot, who never made one single spot. Their mother taught them both the same, but Abel had no sense of shame.
Oh,
I think Dainty Dot is somebody that I would just really never want to know.
well, that was just fabulous and really depressing. Thank you so much, Alex, for sharing with us today. See you next time.